All right. Well, thank you for coming and joining us in worship, Alyssa. And if you want to just kind of introduce yourself again, say hello, and tell us who you are and what you're doing these days.
Sure. I am Alyssa Adreani, and I am an interfaith chaplain and the manager of the Department of Spiritual Care at Newton Wellesley Hospital. And I have been here as an interfaith chaplain for 8 years, and I've been in hospital ministry for an additional 3 years prior to that.
Great. And so what kind of work are you doing right now throughout this coronavirus crisis there at Newton Wellesley?
Yeah, so we have 3 chaplains, including myself, on staff, and we were doing the majority of our work remotely up until just last week for the purpose of helping to flatten the curve and keep folks safe and really limit community spread. Telechaplaincy was not something I ever thought I could do or would do, but it was remarkable. My colleagues and I learned very, very quickly how meaningful it was to connect with the loved ones of patients who are in the hospital. You know that right now visitation to the hospital is very severely restricted, and it's very, very difficult for patients and also for family members who are not able to be at the bedside of their loved one who's in the hospital. So where my 2 other chaplains have done the majority of the patient support, and they have been calling families and spending time in prayer with the family members and letting them know that I'm on site now, so I am able to see some patients and spend time in prayer with them. But for a lot of the family members, they feel just some relief and connection being reached out to by one of the chaplains here, and just knowing that we are holding the patients in our prayer and that we're also holding their loved ones in prayer at this time that's really unusual and challenging in so many ways.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what are you seeing as you're in the hospital these days? What's morale like? What is the mood? And where can we be directing our prayers for you and for everybody that you're seeing there?
Yeah, it's a very different environment now. A lot of colleagues, anybody who can work from home continues to work from home. We don't have visitors. A lot of elective surgeries or procedures have been postponed, and a lot of telemedicine is taking place when it's appropriate. So our hallways are quite empty right now. There's a different kind of vibe. On one hand, it's a bit somber because everybody is very, very focused on just doing the task that's in front of them, whether it is attending to a patient or transporting somebody or delivering a meal, cleaning a room. And so in some ways it's somber, but in some ways there is a camaraderie and a kinship that is really remarkable. We are connecting in ways that we didn't or couldn't before, and the sense of connection with staff is really amazing. One of the beautiful things I've seen here is that the notes and the signs and the posters people have drawn on the windows with like that window paint, just with motivational phrases and encouraging messages and messages of gratitude, and so that's been really remarkable to see that. Staff is tired. It's a hard time, and from the perspective of spiritual care, I think what we're seeing right now, what we're experiencing right now, is really the acute trauma. We are in the peak, and we are in it. And so for a lot of folks, my support right now is fairly superficial, and just saying, hi, how are you doing? And letting people know that not only are my chaplains and I keeping them in prayer, but that there are so many prayer communities, so many faith communities keeping them in prayer and keeping them in our hearts. And I've said, my church in Walpole is keeping you in prayer all the time. And I can't tell you how many doctors and nurses and facilities and housekeeping people have said, thank you, please keep doing that. Please keep doing that.
That's fantastic. And we are absolutely so honored and called to be praying right now. And so specifically, where in the hospital do you think we should be directing our prayers that we might not understand? Or, are there types of staff people that get left out and are thinking, is there sort of, what's the inside view into where we can be prayerfully supporting people?
Well, I think Anna, you've done such a great job already of lifting up some of the folks who are often in the shadows, and in terms of being visible and acknowledged in the hospital. Keep the prayers coming for the patients and their loved ones, definitely. Also for the clinical caregivers, the doctors, nurses, physical therapists, respiratory therapists. And also in particular, there are a lot of folks who do the quiet behind the scenes work that is really helping keep this place going. Facilities and environmental services, our kitchen staff, our IT staff, infection control, occupational health, transport. I guess on a personal note, I would really appreciate your prayers for my friends in transport who have a really Herculean task of going from unit to unit and transporting patients to and from where they need to be. And that under the best of situation, under the best of circumstances, that can be an exhausting job. And right now, I think the emotional burden of that can be quite intense. But these are folks who continue to do their jobs with such grace and really with cheer. They have cheered me up this week, but they're really a remarkable and special group of people.
That's great to hear. And we will definitely be praying for them. One of the things that we're hearing all the time in news reports or anecdotally is just how lonely and isolating this is. Can you speak to that? Can you speak to the trauma of that? And what are ways that you and the other hospital staff are trying to make people feel less alone in this disease?
Yeah, I think for staff, one of the things, again, this was something that really touched me personally when I was feeling pretty isolated and trying to work remotely. And I got a note in the mail from a member of the United Church Walpole, and I couldn't even get through the first line without crying. I can't tell you how much that meant to me, and it's on my desk right now. Those notes are more valuable than anything money can buy. One of the things that I did this week, earlier in the week, was give out little cards. They're about half the size of an index card, like the size of a business card. They were these pre-printed cards with messages of hope and support. And staff really, really appreciated that. And each time, I would leave a few on keyboards and just let people know, I know it feels like a very isolating time. A lot of staff are just going to work, going home, going to work, going home. And I think we're all sort of experiencing and dealing with isolation in different ways, and it hits people in different ways, and it's painful for people in different ways, whether it's being isolated from our recreational activities or being isolated from our friends or our faith communities. I think we're all hit with it in a different way. But staff really did appreciate sort of the kinship and camaraderie of knowing that we will get through this, and that even though it feels quite isolating, that we are still connected in ways that we can't even imagine, in ways that we can't necessarily see and feel right now, but those connections are still so profound and so strong. For staff to know that people they don't even know are praying for them is something that's brought, I think, a little bit of relief to staff here.
Absolutely. And how are you seeing patients and their families deal with the isolation as well?
Yeah. there's a range. There's a real range of things. I think different loved ones have different resources available to them. And, for somebody who is living alone and has, they're living alone because their loved one is in the hospital, we know that there's a lot of anguish there. I don't know. This is a really tough question to answer because it's just hard all around.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. And I think, we can all understand. Absolutely. And so as your faith community, as the ones who want to stand beside you and lift you up in prayer and lift the work that you're doing up as well, how can we be praying? How can we be working? What are the needs that you're seeing right now?
Yeah. First, just continuing the prayer and the hope, and keep doing what you are doing. It is helping more than I can say. I know it's hard to be stuck at home. It has challenges all its own. And I know it's frustrating, but that is helping. And we know that. And so there is a tremendous amount of gratitude from staff that people are doing. They're observing that at no small effort. So my staff appreciates that. One of the things that's been of particular concern is communities and individuals who, even prior to this, were marginalized, oppressed, living in the shadows, living on the margins, and living in very, very difficult and painful situations. Certainly we have been deeply concerned and worried about folks who are experiencing violence in the home. And that is certainly an area that needs any help and any assistance that we can provide. For folks in the community who may already have a connection with the domestic violence organization, if you know of a shelter or an organization that is doing good work in that regard, I would encourage continued or even increased support if you are able. We do have some recommendations for organizations that welcome support. One is Reach Beyond Domestic Violence, and I can give Pastor Anna the contact info for how to support them. Also, we know that the city of Waltham, one of them, there's quite a sort of it's a densely populated area, and a lot of people have been very, very painfully impacted by what is happening now. So there are some food pantries and community organizations in Waltham that would welcome support if we can offer it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I will definitely follow up with you on that and get that information out to our congregation. I know so many people are looking for ways to help and support and direct our resources during this time. So thank you. So I know your phone is ringing, and I know you've got things
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. So just know we're praying for you. We're going to be praying for you this Sunday. Thank you so much for speaking with me today and sharing with your church family.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I know we have another hospital chaplain in our church community, and even though we don't talk regularly, it's just good knowing that there is another hospital chaplain in our community, and that there's, in terms of this invisible support network, that the hospital and healthcare chaplains, even the ones who aren't close or don't talk often, are that we're in this together. And so I have a lot of just prayers for my fellow chaplain in the community.
Yes, thank you. I know Tiffany will appreciate that, and I'm sure we'll hear from Tiffany on another date. But thank you so much, Alyssa, and blessings on your day and blessings on your work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Blessings.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.